Imagine walking into your biology exam and every question feels strangely familiar, not because you memorized thousands of pages, but because your brain instantly recognizes the answer. Sounds impossible? It's not. I'm going to show you a study system that makes biology feel dramatically easier than almost everyone thinks. Here's the crazy part. Most students spend hundreds of hours studying biology, yet forget nearly everything a week later. It's not because biology is hard. It's because they're using a method their brain was never designed for. Today, you'll discover 7 powerful steps. But listen carefully. Almost nobody reaches step 6. And step 7 is the reason top students seem to learn twice as fast. If you leave before the end, you'll miss the part that changes everything. Before we begin, I want you to answer one question. When you study biology, do you memorize? Or do you actually understand? Those are completely different things. Imagine trying to remember the names of every person in a giant city. Impossible. Now imagine grouping everyone into families. Suddenly, everything becomes much easier. That's exactly how biology works. The biggest mistake students make is believing biology is about memorizing facts. It's not. Biology is about recognizing patterns. Once you understand the patterns, thousands of facts suddenly connect together. Think about your favorite movie. You probably remember hundreds of scenes. Not because you memorized them, but because every scene connected into one story. Your brain loves stories. Biology should become one giant story. Step 1. Stop reading biology like a dictionary. Start reading it like a detective. Every chapter is trying to answer one question. Find that question first. Everything else becomes evidence. Suppose today's chapter is photosynthesis. Most students immediately memorize equations. Wrong. Instead, ask one simple question. How does a plant make food? Now every paragraph has a purpose. Your brain remembers answers, not random information. Questions create curiosity. Curiosity creates attention. Attention creates memory. That's why asking questions before reading makes learning much faster. Every biology chapter can be reduced to just 3 questions. What? Why? How? If you can answer those, you've already understood more than most students. Notice something interesting. Doctors don't memorize every symptom separately. They recognize patterns. Scientists don't memorize every experiment. They understand systems. Top students study the same way. The moment you stop asking, "What should I memorize?" and start asking, "Why does this happen?" biology becomes dramatically easier. Because understanding always beats memorization. Congratulations! You've just learned what most students never do. But here's the truth. Everything you've seen so far only prepares your brain. The next step changes how your brain stores biology forever. And almost nobody uses it. Before we continue, I want you to think about something. Have you ever studied an entire biology chapter, only to forget almost everything the next morning? You probably blamed your memory, but memory isn't the problem. The way you feed information into your brain is. Imagine trying to build a house. One brick, floating in the air. Impossible. Every brick needs another brick to support it. Your memories work exactly the same way. Every new idea must connect to something you already know. Let's say you're learning about cells. Most students immediately memorize cell membrane, nucleus, mitochondria, ribosomes. One by one, their brain sees random words. Instead, ask yourself, what is a cell? Think of a cell as a tiny factory. Suddenly, the nucleus becomes the manager. The mitochondria become the power station. The ribosomes become the workers. Now you're not memorizing, you're understanding. Your brain loves meaning. It hates isolated facts. That's why you can remember your childhood home, but forget 10 random biology terms after 5 minutes. Meaning creates memory. Random facts disappear. Here's a challenge. The next time you study biology, don't ask, "What should I memorize?" Instead ask, "What does this remind me of?" Your brain immediately starts building connections. And connections are stronger than repetition. Here's something almost every top student does naturally. Before reading details, they first look at the big picture. Imagine trying to complete a puzzle without seeing the picture on the box. Every piece feels random, but once you see the whole image, every piece suddenly makes sense. That's exactly how biology chapters work. Read the headings. Look at the diagrams. Notice the summary. Spend just 2 minutes understanding the map. Before walking through the forest, you'll understand faster than students who start on page 1. This is called learning from the outside in. Big picture first, small details second. Your brain builds the frame, then fills in the missing pieces. That's much easier than trying to remember hundreds of disconnected facts. So let's review. You stopped treating biology like a list of facts. You started building connections. You learned to find the big picture first. Already, you're studying in a way that feels easier, faster, and far less stressful. But don't celebrate yet, because the next step is where biology starts becoming unforgettable. Most students stop here. They think understanding is enough. It isn't. Step 3 is the difference between remembering biology for one day or remembering it for your entire exam. And once you see this technique, you'll never study biology the same way again. Let me ask you something. Why can a doctor look at a patient for just a few minutes and immediately guess what's wrong? Do they have a better memory than everyone else? No. They recognize patterns. And that's exactly what you're about to learn. Think about learning a new language. At first, every word feels separate. But after enough exposure, your brain starts noticing patterns. Sentences become predictable. Biology works exactly the same way. The more patterns you see, the less you need to memorize. Here's an example. Every living thing needs energy. Plants, animals, even tiny bacteria. Different methods, same purpose. Once you understand that single pattern, dozens of chapters suddenly become easier. Now think about the human body. Different organs, different jobs, but every organ exists for one reason: to keep you alive. When you search for the purpose first, the details become much easier to remember. Here's a mistake almost everyone makes. They memorize names before understanding relationships. Imagine trying to remember everyone's phone number before learning their names. It makes no sense. Relationships always come first. Whenever you open a biology chapter, look for these 3 things. What goes in? What happens? What comes out? Almost every biological process follows this simple flow. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. Take photosynthesis. Sunlight goes in. The plant uses it. Food comes out. Or cellular respiration. Food goes in. Energy is released. Different chapters. Same pattern. Notice what's happening. Instead of memorizing hundreds of facts, your brain starts compressing information. One pattern replaces 20 separate facts. That's exactly how experts think. Here's a challenge. The next time you study, don't highlight everything. Instead, draw arrows, connect ideas, circle causes, underline effects. Your notebook should look like a map, not a rainbow. You've now unlocked one of the biggest secrets of learning biology. Patterns, connections, purpose. These are the tools your brain was designed to remember. But here's the problem. Even students who understand everything still forget it before the exam. Why? Because understanding alone doesn't create long-term memory. That's exactly what Step 4 will solve. Don't leave now. Everything you've learned so far helps you understand biology, but Step 4 is what makes your brain remember it for weeks instead of hours. This is the point where studying starts to feel almost unfair. Have you ever read an entire chapter, felt like you understood everything, closed the book, and 5 minutes later, you couldn't explain even the first page? That isn't because you have a bad memory. It's because reading creates the illusion of learning. Real learning begins only after you close the book. Imagine watching someone else exercise. Would your muscles grow? Of course not. Your brain works the same way. Reading is like watching. Remembering is like lifting the weight yourself. Here's the technique. Read for 5 minutes. Close the book. Now explain everything. Without looking. If you can't explain it, you don't know it yet. And that's perfectly normal. Don't immediately reopen the book. First, try harder. Force your brain to search. That struggle feels uncomfortable, but it's exactly what builds stronger memories. Scientists call this retrieval. Top students simply call it studying. Think about searching for your park bicycle. At first, you can't remember. Then suddenly, the memory appears. That searching strengthened the memory. Your biology knowledge grows exactly the same way. Now let's make this even more powerful. Don't just explain biology to yourself. Teach it. Pretend you're teaching your younger brother, your best friend, or even your pet. If you can teach it simply, you truly understand it. Notice something interesting. When you teach, your brain automatically finds missing pieces. Suddenly you realize, I don't actually know this part. That's not failure. That's progress. Here's a simple challenge. After every biology study session, close everything. Take one blank sheet of paper. Write down everything you remember. No cheating. Whatever you forget, review only those parts. Think about how much time this saves. Instead of rereading an entire chapter, You only review the information your brain actually missed. That's studying smarter, not longer. By now, you're studying completely differently than most students. You ask questions. You look for patterns. You retrieve information from memory. You're no longer feeding facts into your brain. You're building a system, but there's still one huge mistake almost everyone makes. And that's exactly what Step 5 is about. Most students think more practice automatically means better results. It doesn't. In Step 5, you'll discover why practicing the wrong way can actually slow your learning. And this mistake could be costing you hours every single week. Here's a question. If practicing more always made you better, why do some students study 8 hours a day and still score lower than someone who studies only 2? The answer is simple. Practice doesn't make perfect. Perfect practice makes progress. Imagine shooting basketballs. If you throw the ball the wrong way 1,000 times, you'll become an expert at throwing it the wrong way. Biology works exactly the same. Repeating mistakes only strengthens mistakes. Most students make one huge mistake. They keep rereading chapters, even after they understand them. It feels productive, but almost nothing new is happening inside the brain. Learning happens when your brain struggles, not when it feels comfortable. Instead of rereading, challenge yourself. Cover the page. Draw the diagram from memory. Explain the process aloud. Answer questions before checking the answer. Your brain learns by doing, not by staring. Here's another trick. Mix different biology topics together. Don't spend 2 hours studying only one chapter. Instead, review genetics, then cells, then plants, then come back again. This forces your brain to recognize differences. Think about athletes. They don't train only one muscle. They rotate exercises. Your brain also grows stronger through variety. Changing topics keeps your attention awake. One more mistake. Studying until you're exhausted. Your brain isn't a machine. Attention slowly drops. After a while, you're spending time, but not gaining knowledge. Short, focused sessions almost always beat endless marathon study sessions. Remember this. Don't measure your study session by hours. Measure it by how many ideas you can explain without looking. That's the score that actually matters. You've now reached a point where you're already studying differently than almost everyone around you. But here's something interesting. Everything you've learned so far still isn't the complete system, because Step 6 is where speed enters the picture. Most students never discover it. This is the part almost everyone misses. Step 6 isn't about studying harder. It's about studying faster without sacrificing understanding. Once you see it, you'll wonder why nobody taught you this in school. Let's imagine 2 students. Both have exactly 1 hour. The first student starts reading page 1, then page 2, then page 3. The second student spends 5 minutes building a plan, and 55 minutes executing it. Who finishes first? Usually, the one with the plan. Speed doesn't come from reading faster. It comes from knowing exactly what deserves your attention. Top students don't waste time on everything. They search for the 20%. That explains the other 80. Here's a simple habit. Before reading any chapter, spend just 3 minutes scanning. Look at the titles, the diagrams, the summary, the bold words. Now your brain already knows where it's going. Think about watching a movie trailer. After 2 minutes, you already understand the story. Reading the chapter becomes easier because your brain has a roadmap. Never start without seeing the map first. Here's another secret. Stop trying to finish chapters. Start trying to answer questions. Questions keep your attention alive. Goals like, finish chapter 5. Often create passive reading. Goals like, can I explain photosynthesis in 2 minutes? Create active learning. Now combine everything. Ask questions. Look for patterns. Build connections. Test yourself. Teach someone else. Review only your weak points. Notice something? You're no longer memorizing biology. You're training your brain. Congratulations. You've made it to Step 6. Step 7, the step I told you not to miss. Earlier, I said, Step 7 is the reason top students seem to learn twice as fast. Now it's time to reveal why. It isn't because they have a higher IQ. It isn't because they spend 10 hours studying every day. And it definitely isn't because they memorize faster than everyone else. The difference is much simpler. While most students rely on motivation, top students rely on a system they use every single time they sit down to study. Once you understand that system, studying biology stops feeling overwhelming. It becomes predictable. It becomes efficient. And most importantly, it becomes fast. So let's build the complete biology study system, step by step. If you've learned something valuable, hit like, subscribe, and share this video so more students can learn faster too.